the duck. Should I add salt?
Vinegar.
Okay, I'm gonna add salt. Tapos, vinegar. Okay, here it goes.
That, my friends, is the embryo of a developing duck, otherwise known as balut. And what better place to eat balut than the neighborhood of the original makers, Bateros, right here in Manila. Let me just start out by saying, I didn't like Manila. It's a difficult place to be. Most of the travelers I've known to come to Manila didn't like the city, and it's certainly understandable, especially if you're here for just a day or two. It's a city full of congested extremes. It's noisy, polluted, it can get very crowded, lacks urban planning. I mean, I'm not going to defend the struggle of the city that we all know here. It's not immediately dazzling, but as the tried and true saying goes, you cannot judge a book by its cover. And Manila is a library full. You just gotta read a little more into it.
So today, I want to take some time to see and explore a part of Manila that I haven't yet. I really like going on exploratory walks. For me, it's a great way to immerse myself in an unfamiliar place. This enormous city is so vibrant, it's so hectic, there's so much to see. Manila is so diverse and every community is different. There's so much going on, but it's not really until you take a walk through the communities that you can get a better sense of the richness in culture. So I've been to Intramuros, I've been to Chinatown, I've visited the museums here in Manila, I've seen San Agustin Church, I've been to Manila Bay, I think I've been to most all the malls in Quezon City. If I googled top 10 things to do in Manila, I'm pretty sure I've hit all of the best sightseeing tourist places. But something I haven't done as much is just go out and explore the neighborhood spaces. There's always something to learn, something to observe. How are people living? What's going on in the neighborhood? You know, you're never gonna know a place as intimately as those who grew up there. So today, as a way for myself to kind of better understand it and just better familiarize myself with the different places in Manila, I'm gonna take a walk. So, this is the fastest way of getting around. I wouldn't say it's the safest. You're on a motorcycle. It can be a little bit suffocating weaving in and out of traffic just because the congestion is so thick. There's jeepneys belching black smoke. But it is the fastest way to get around. And it's kind of fun. There's not much traffic right now, so we're doing really good. Okay, that was a pretty hot and sweaty ride. If you're going to take a motorbike taxi or a jeepney, it's always best to bring a bandana with you, some sort of face mask. And then if you're doing a motorbike taxi, just make sure to bring one of the hairnets because, you know, the helmet's being shared by other people, other passengers. So I just arrived at Market. This is a mall that has everything you would need. Imagine if it's like the Target of the Philippines, but it's just an enormous mall. So we are right next to an area called Bonifacio Global City. It's kind of like a posh shopping area with a ton of different bars, restaurants, like any type of food and drink you'd want, it's there. I'm just gonna walk through Market. We are not heading into the mall though. We are actually going to head in the opposite direction towards the Talipapa, which is a wet market. It's a fish market, but it's also a meat and produce market. And on the way, we'll wind in between the neighborhoods there. towards a direction of neighborhoods, of communities, and walking away from the mall. But I have to be careful and keep my head on a swivel because we're kind of going against the traffic here in the street, so I don't want to get clipped. Okay, so it's always good to know where you are, right? So I just asked some people walking by me what neighborhood this is called, and I'm walking through Tembo.
Manila's communities are delightfully chaotic and multifaceted. Manila is the capital, but it comprises of 16 cities total, so frankly, getting to know this city seriously requires much more of an effort to understand, appreciate, and fully enjoy.
So yeah, you better make it! I've been walking around these alleyways and these narrow streets, and I can't help but think about how this reminds me so much of like an old walled-in European city with all of the alleyways. Like, I'm kind of just taking turns wherever I go. I'm not really sure where I'm going, just walking.
The communities here are lower to middle class income. The locals here mostly work in the service industry, so that would include people working in the call centers, restaurants, department stores, and quite a few of them drive a tricycle on their off hours. The tricycle is the most common form of public transportation for people going to work. It's very affordable, relatively fast, and the tricycle drivers can work all day and all night. People are going to work 24/7, so the city allows them to operate at all hours.
Okay, I need to take a break. It's pretty hot walking around here, especially wearing this huge backpack. As I was walking through the alleyways, I just kind of stopped and talked to a couple families, a couple locals that I was just walking by, and they were sitting outside. And I was just kind of asking them questions about how they're living, what their sources of income are. Hold on, wait for this tricycle. Wow, that was loud. So anyway, I was asking these families, you know, what their living situation is. I asked them if it was okay to inquire about, you know, the source of income and how much they make. And these communities around here are lower to middle class. A lot of them are making minimum wage, and they told me that minimum wage here is about 517 pesos per day, which is 10 US dollars a day. They're actually paid by shift. So you work a 9-hour shift and you have an extra hour of lunch that is unpaid. So you're paid per shift, not per hour. Let's say for a family of 4 or 5 with the mother and father both pulling in, you know, double income at minimum wage, they could get by week. The cost of supplies and food here are relative to the wages here. So for example, a family could purchase, let's say half a kilo of fish. They could also get vegetables alongside that with some rice. And the total cost of that meal is 200 pesos, 21,000 pesos a month. Minus the cost of just food leaves 15,000 pesos left for spending money. So the immense challenge here is saving for the future, having enough money to send their children to school, even having enough money to support like a major health emergency for a family member. For a highly urbanized region here, the wages are highly insufficient. The disparity in Manila is very apparent, and you can easily see the difference between Bonifacio Global City and the stark contrast with those surrounding communities. absolute #1 favorite thing to do whenever I'm in any city is go straight to the meat and the produce. The farmer's market, what is not to love about everything here? These markets really amplify the cherished aspects of the local Filipino culture. This is the centerpiece of the community. Where there is food, people will gather. And that creates a hub of a community lifestyle. I just took another motorbike taxi across the way from Pembo. We are now in Pateros, and Pateros is the place of the original balut makers in the country. So if you are so brave to continue watching, let's eat some world famous or infamous balut. Okay, so I am getting just one balut, one cooked balut. It's 10 pesos. Well, it's 10 pesos for a cooked one and a raw one, but I'm just gonna ask for the cooked one. We got the cooked balut here, and then we got some salt, and I think this is like vinegar with peppers in it, but I don't know if I want any of that. Quick story time about balut. I used to eat this as a kid all the time. So I spent a lot of my childhood years when I was in the Philippines in Mindoro, which is a province. It's an island just an hour plane ride south of here from Manila. My fondest memories in the Philippines are my childhood years spent in the province because we were just like running around the streets, and it kind of reminded me of the way people grew up in the 50s, where they're like no one locked their doors. My brother and I never came home until there was food ready. Otherwise, there was no communication because there was no cell phones back then. We grew up in the 90s. We were 90s kids. So we would like roam around the beach. We would, you know, take tricycles to the farms. It was a very independent way of living. My mom used to give us a couple pesos here and there, so we would go out on our own to buy balut. And at the time, obviously, we did not know what it was. We just liked it the way it tastes. So I have not had balut since I was a child, and this is pretty nostalgic for me, to be completely honest. So that was just life in the province. So I'm about to relive my childhood time spent in the province. All right, you know what I do remember about eating this though? I remember that you crack the top, whichever way the top is, and you add a little salt, and you drink the soup, and that's the best part. It's the tastiest part. And then I just remember after that, I would typically like not want it anymore. I just liked the very top. So let's get after it. Ate, my spoon. Bakit? I forget how to do this. Which side? Ito? I'm just gonna crack it. Which side? I'm just on the table? Okay, I'm just gonna crack it on the table. Okay, I'm gonna peel the top off. I got a garbage can right below me to let you know I'm not littering. Oh, that's not the top. It's not the top, it's the wrong way. It is?
It's the top.
Bakit walang soup?
Tatanggalin mo yung skin.
Ah, okay. Oh man. Okay, we're getting after it. Okay, so we're at the top. Thank you. They're so sweet. They're giving me a cold rag. So I just cracked the top open. I'm gonna add some salt, and I'm gonna drink the soup now. Good. Exactly how I remember it tasting. I think the salt is the best part so far. I mean, it does taste like an egg. There's no like weird taste to it yet, but I'm just still at the soup part. Okay, now I'm gonna peel the rest of the egg off. All right, we have reached the duck. Should I add salt? Vinegar. Okay, here it goes. tried the yellow part. It honestly just tastes like an egg to me. Okay, it's almost 4 o'clock now. I've been walking around for the entire afternoon and the commute is about to start, so I'm going to try and head home before the work commute, the end of day commute begins. And I had such a fun day walking around Pembo and Pateros.
As a constant traveler, it's easy to make the mistake of being in a city without ever really leaving your own world. Sometimes I think the best experiences, traveling or not, happens when you open up and you get to know your surrounding communities.
So just to end the vlog, I wanted to leave you with the idea that you should not be afraid to explore solo. My solo explorations in Manila have really allowed me to observe in a way that I wouldn't otherwise. It's really allowed me to get a little bit more personal with people. And Filipinos have such open hearts, and without a doubt, they will always welcome you with a smile. You can learn so much by just taking a little bit of time to walk around, talk to people, listen to their stories. It is really the beginning of getting to know a community, and this is truly how I learned to love Manila. So, okay, I'm gonna go home, get cleaned up. It's been a long, sweaty day here in Manila, and I'll see you guys next time.
You can be like him, you can be like her, or you can just do you, 'cause life is so beautiful, beautiful.